Hi there, Wilders. This is Arno Joubert, and I'm here with my wife, Deidre Joubert. We've been asked a couple of questions, and I thought we'd just address them and answer them in the best way that we could. And so, the very first thing that I want to ask Deidre, my beautiful wife, is tell me about yourself and where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Vereeniging, South Africa. It's Gauteng side. I went to high school there, primary school there. And then when I met my husband Arno now, at the age of 21, we moved in together and we moved into Little Falls area.
Okay. To say that you're obsessed with wildlife is an understatement, I think. Where did this passion grow? Where did you get this obsession and passion for South African wildlife?
My granny had a farm called, I think it was Tweede Poort. On Derde Poort, it's close to Zeerust in, I think it's Limpopo province. And we, each and every weekend we went there. My dad went there as often as he can. And that's where I've been learning a lot about wildlife. We stayed in Vereeniging. There weren't that much wildlife. So I grew to love wildlife on that farm and from my dad. My dad taught me most of the things as well.
So, and how did you get involved in wildlife rehabbing then?
Oh, that's a long story. Me and Arno, we were driving in Mildersdrift, Gauteng, and we picked up a crested barbet that was hit by a car. And immediately I was busy with my
I
BCom
remember.
entrepreneurial, yes, entrepreneurial, and studying. And I was busy studying, and Arno said, let's just go somewhere to have lunch, and then you go back and study. We picked up a crested barbet, and I Googled the closest rehabilitation center because I didn't know anything about rehabilitation. And the best thing is for that animal to go to proper specialists. So we found a rehabilitation center. As we walked in, I knew immediately my BCom entrepreneurial is going to take a back burner. I knew I need to be there, and this is where I want to be. And well, a week after that, I started volunteering at that rehab center, and that was in 2009.
We live in Marlows Park and we've been going through a bit of a heat wave. How's that? I think today's 39 degrees. Yesterday was 40 plus and the day before 45 plus. How's that been on the animals? Are you coping?
Yeah, no, they don't cope. They don't cope. Many animals that came in already was severely dehydrated. And the second thing is, as soon as people see animals that are dehydrated, they want to feed it or give it some water. So 70% of those animals that came in was already half drowned. There's specific ways that we hydrate them. Subcutaneous injections with saline solution, but that's through a proper trained volunteer. We never ever give water perched into the mouth, that because you can drown them, and if they're weak, they can't swallow. It's if you are extremely thirsty, your mouth gets dry, your trachea gets dry, and you can't swallow properly. And that's the case. That's why subcutaneous or maybe drips is always the solution for those animals. So your half of them are drowned. Unfortunately, the more I try to educate the public, the more I think it's human nature. We want to
Yeah.
nurture. As soon as the animal comes in, they want to help. Without just give it water, it will be fine. But it won't be fine. You drown them. And the heat, yeah, battling. Raptors are battling. Even our vultures are battling. So yeah, this heat wave isn't good for anybody. Not me,
So tell us a bit about your family.
Oh, we adopted two kids, Tumi and Tabu. They're already 13 and 15 years old. They're both going through their teenage stages. Me and Arno, I know it goes on until they're 21, but yeah, no, we'll hang on there. We'll hang on and do the thing. And I love them to bits. Me and Arno, we are married for 23 years this year, and we've been together for 31 years. So yeah, I gave my age away just now, but okay, that's fine.
There must be a animal that has a special place in your heart, a certain species.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely serval. Definitely serval. I love servals. They are not the most difficult animals, but if you don't get their diet correctly, they go lame. And they can get a vitamin K deficiency, vitamin B1 deficiency. It's crazy. That balance, it's a challenge, and I love challenges. And I've pulled through already 7 and successfully released 7 of them. One we lost, but one thing that I do believe in is if animals can't go back to the wild, we have to euthanize. I don't believe in keeping animals as pets or keep them in the cages for the rest of their life. After all, I believe any rehabilitation center shouldn't think about the animals but to restore ecosystems. And that's what the animals are there for. If they can't go back to the wild, they can't contribute to the ecosystem. And we need healthy ecosystems to be healthy humans. So if they can't contribute to the ecosystem, then unfortunately, that is what Wild and Free does. I don't believe in animals in cages for the rest of their lives.
And on that point, how do you deal with losing an animal emotionally?
That's a hard one. Um, I always say, tell my volunteers, we will mourn our losses and we'll celebrate our wins as if it's the first. Because to tell you the truth, if a rehab center say they pull all their animals through that, I'll have a look at that. So that's impossible. How do I deal with it? It's difficult. There's two aspects of it. First of all, you can't get hard and not cry and think, no, I'm not crying. And ignorance that you think, no, I'll get through it. I'll get through it. Next one is better. You have to deal with it. And how I deal with it, most of my volunteers, if they phone me and said, do you have coffee? I say, yes, then I know here's a session. I need to talk to them and keep them happy. I think my volunteers
Always
and my,
coffee.
hey,
Is it always coffee?
I know if it's after 4, no. Then we do a 1 o'clock. But it's my family and my volunteers that keeps me upright. Many times I phone one of my volunteers, which is very close to my heart, and then I just cry. Allow you to mourn your losses, but celebrate your wins. And don't be ignorant and think, no, it doesn't, it can't hurt me. It will. It will, but it depends on how strong you are and are you in mourning. Are you if you mourn and you cry, that's a good thing. That's getting rid of all the emotions and all that because rehabbers see more death than any other person. And you battle for say 7 days to pull an animal through, and he just gave up. And the one thing that I always tell volunteers, it doesn't help to keep on fighting for an animal if he already gave up hope. The animal has to be in a fighting spirit, and of course you. If the animal's still fighting, the chance that you can pull him through is good. But you can feel that soul is just let him go. And that's the hardest thing after 7 days. You day and night you look after that animal, and then he just die. And it's hard. So it's extremely hard. But yeah, you can't be emotionally unstable for this job. You have to be strong. You have to be extremely strong. See, I want to cry now, already thinking of the losses. I'm still hurting after many years of rehabbing. And I tell my volunteers as well as if you stop crying, that's time to take your rehab shoes and hang it up because then your emotions are too hard. You need to cry.
Tell me, Deirdre, what are your hopes and dreams for the future?
I've got a lot. For the rehabilitation center, world class. I want to be the best there is. I want to do all species, get specialists in because it's impossible to know all the species. Once again, if somebody says, I know how to do everything, don't trust that person. It's impossible to know everything. But then if I get an animal in that I can learn from that, get the specialist in and learn from that specialist. Rehabbing, you never stop learning. Never, ever. You can't stop learning because there's so much information you can learn from. And and the future for Wild and Free is a big one. It's be world renowned and one of the best in South Africa.
Tell me, how do you make money in rehabbing? How do you survive?
A lot of hard work again. golf days, donations, donation runs. And then here in Marlis Park, we've got Uncle John Murray. Oh, I love that man to bits. He stands at the gates, so we get a lot of overseas tourists in. And he's got a little donation box, and then he asks for donations there. And then, of course, the Aspinall Foundation has supported me tremendously. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to grow so fast as I have. So, the Aspinall Foundation, and there's another foundation, I can't say anything yet. And yeah, no, networking. Networking is the key thing. You have to network. You as a rehab has to have the best networking skills. That's important. And the second thing is approach people. We've got Williams Farm close to Mananga Road or on Mananga Road. And they give us all their chickens. They give us chickens for our carnivores. And then we've got Nyoni Farm that if they've got too much fruit and veggies, they bring it to us or we go and fetch it. So that's part of the networking as well. If I have to buy chicken and veggies and everything, then my budget will be blown within a week. So yeah, that networking and donation drives, golf days, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Tell me a bit about your current volunteers.
I love my volunteers. I don't have many for the reason that I don't have many. For the reason is that permit is in my name. I have to train my volunteers properly before they touch an animal. If something happens to an animal and it was inhumanely treated and didn't get the best treatment that's available, then I can be prosecuted. So I choose my volunteers very carefully. I've got my just I don't want to know names. I'm going to forget, so I don't want to. All of them are precious and special to me. Every single
Let me
volunteer
try and help
has,
remember.
hey,
I'll try and help you remember.
remember the names. Okay, let's start from the bottom to top. Okay, that's Mark.
Let's start in Nelspruit.
Okay,
Yes, okay,
Nelspruit.
Mark.
Yeah, let's start. Yeah, Mark, Tracy De Beer, Jean De Beer, Jock, Nadine. She's a
ML.
bush queen. Tracy is our Janet queen. Mark is our Jackal king, and Antelope king. And he's jack of all trades. Mark. He can do anything. And then I've got Anneke. She is the most amazing person. She, actual fact, works for Lowveld Venom Supplies, and she milked the snakes for anti-venom. So yeah, she's got guts. She's got guts, and I love the guts. And then I've got Marcus and his mom in Nels, and
Marie Louise. ML.
Marie Louise ML, my
The two
wine o'clock
Alicias.
girl, Alicia Lee, and Alicia Poseidonite. Yeah, I think I've got all of them. But yeah, I can't single
We've
one
got
out.
Afrikaan Jean.
Afrikaans
Afrikaan
Jean,
Jean.
yeah, yeah. Can't single out any one of them. All of them are special and all of them are good in what they do.
We did mention Nadine, right? Yes.
Yes, she says a bush baby queen.
Okay. Yes. It costs to volunteer for you.
I, I, you know what it will cost you if you're South African? It will cost your time and your willingness to learn. That's what it will cost. Willingness to learn and your willingness to learn and your time. That's the cost. That's the only cost. Because why I don't ask South African public if they want to become volunteer money for it, because I just feel I take away the inheritance of each South African, which is unfair. If I can get my hands on each and every South African and teach them about wildlife, that will be unique, and our wildlife wouldn't be in the trouble it's currently in.
If I see a little sick baby animal or an adult in nature, what is the first thing that I should do with that animal?
An adult, depending on what adult it is, for your
No,
antelope
animal,
and
sorry. What if I see a sick or injured animal?
sick or animal, okay. If you get a sick or injured animal, take a video. don't pick it up. Take a video, send it directly to your closest rehab center. They will advise you what to do from there on. Please don't, no water. Don't try and feed. If you go to the emergency room, they're not going to give you a burger and say you're on your way. That's the same principle. Don't feed, don't try and hydrate. If it's an adult, I would put water down and see, because sometimes they just a little bit dehydrated and they can sometimes drink themselves. You don't need to intervene. I'm very careful of intervening as well. It might be that this raptor just caught this baby guinea fowl and he dropped it, and now it looks injured. Now you go and pick it up. Whether the hawk or raptor is sitting in the tree waiting for you to move off so he can have his lunch. So, yeah, you have to read the bush very nicely. We don't interfere with nature, only where human hand has been involved. I'm very adamant with that because you're just breaking the circle if you're going to intervene where Mother Nature intended that animals should die.
Before rehabbing, did you have a job? What work did you do?
Oh, yes, before rehabbing, I was working for Arno, my husband. We started our own business. I think we were 28, Arno. No, we were 26 when we started our own business. Yeah, I can't remember. 1999. Yeah, I can't remember. And first, I worked for the receiver of revenue a few years. And then we started our own business, very successful businesses. And Joburg just got too much for me. I like quietness, I like nature. And yeah, that's when we decided to move to Limpopo, more quieter. And I must say, the community in this area, Nkumazi area, I love the community. They are amazing people. Every single one of them, amazing people. Small towns. I'm made for a small town. I can tell you that.
Tell me, do you have any other interests or hobbies?
I do a little bit of boot camp, exercise, and hobbies.
Okay.
No, the animals is my hobbies. Unfortunately, I don't, most of the time, I don't have spare time. I would rather read up on certain species or phone a specialist at the rehab center, get some information. Yeah, let me say, my hobbies is to learn more about wildlife. That's it. Yeah, no, I don't have a hobby. My rehab is my
Your
hobby.
work is your hobby.
My work is my hobby, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then where can we follow you? Contact details, email addresses. Are you on
Contact.
Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. I think, Arno, you will put the telephone number there at the bottom, or maybe at my email address at the bottom. And there's a special website as well as Act Naturally. Arno, you'll put it for me in the description at the bottom. That's if you're South African or you maybe one of our precious tourists. You come and visit and you see there's an animal in distress. You go to that website, Act Naturally. With the province, it's a province, which rehab centers does what. This one does birds, this one does, and you can click on it and all the telephone numbers will be there, which you can contact. That's a brilliant website that was started.
And then how can people come visit your rehab? Do you interact with animals at the rehab?
Unfortunately, the rehab isn't open for the public. As I say, all our animals has to go back to the wild. That's what wild and free is all about. If they get used to humans, they're unreleasable. And yes, we get babies in and they get used to us. But then as soon as they're in their enclosures, it's limit to no human contact because we can't release a tame animal. Tame animal will be poached, killed, or problem animal. And we don't want that. They must be scared of humans. So unfortunately, no public allowed at my rehab center. It makes the job difficult to get them wild again. So no, unfortunately, sorry guys, but I don't allow public at the rehab.
So, any final thoughts or advice? I'm sure this is not going to be our last podcast or interview that we're going to have. Lots of questions pop up regularly, which we'll cover.
Yeah.
But any final
If if
thoughts or advice to members of the public?
if members of the public want more information on certain subjects, please feel free or ask that, and I can cover that. If I can't cover it, I'll get somebody to cover it for us. Once again, it's impossible for me to know everything, so I'll get somebody to cover that for us. Last minute, please don't feed wildlife. Please, if you pick it up, don't feed it anything. Phone your nearest rehab center, because at the end, it's not about you, it's about the animal. And why did you do that act? You did that act to save the animal and not to boost yourself. So I think if you pick up an animal, look at him and say, what's the best for this animal? Me, that never looked after a wild animal, or the specialists that know exactly how to look after it? And then you become a wildlife warrior. I see the guys, the public, handling wildlife over to rehab centers as wildlife warriors. Because if it wasn't for them, more animals would have died.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So that is the first of a couple of episodes that we're going to chat about Deidre and Wild and Free, and cover more info about rehabbing animals, what you as a member of the public can do, how to volunteer at Wild and Free. Thanks for your time and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.